thanks everyone. As Dave mentioned, I'm Jordan Trimble, President and CEO of Skyharbour Resources. Thank you, Red Cloud and Dave, for hosting. Last time we were here, I guess that would have been in November. We had just announced a few months prior, big deal with Rio Tinto to bring in a co-flagship project called Russell Lake. Lots gone into that project, drill targeting. We've worked with a group called Condor Consulting to refine these targets. We've got the permits, obviously, for the drilling. The funding we raised last year for a 10,000 meter program that we've just started, and the social license as well. A pretty significant news release. We announced an exploration agreement with English River First Nation just a few weeks ago. So yeah, we'll get right into it. So disclaimer here, again, please read it on your own time. So as I said, we've just embarked on what is our largest single drill program we've ever carried out as a company. And that's why it's a very exciting time for Skyharbour and our shareholders, is this is the year where we're now 10 years of hard work bringing this project portfolio together. We're continuing to add to that. You know, Ross talked about this in the lunch, being there when the market was not. We were very opportunistic over the last decade or so, buying these assets, acquiring these projects at pennies on the dollar, 18 projects, one of the largest land positions in mineral tenure holders in northern Saskatchewan, with over 460,000 hectares across these 18 projects. Russell Lake, the project I've just talked about, co-flagship project, the 10,000 meters. So this is really now the time when you should be looking at the company as this is a big drill program, and it offers that high-grade discovery potential, which is, again, a big draw for investors in the Athabasca Basin. We've seen recent discoveries with Fission 3.0, ISO Energy several years ago. We all know that the size of the prize for these high-grade deposits in the basin is significant. So Russell Lake really is going to be the focus for our news flow. It's going to generate a lot of news flow over the coming months as we work our way. We just started as we work our way through this 10,000 meters. But as Dave pointed out, we also have a lot of partner companies. These 18 projects, 2 of them were actively advancing in Russell and more. The other 16 projects we are farming out. We're acting as a prospect generator. We now have 7 agreements in place. 2 of them are joint ventures. 5 of them are still in the earn-in phases of the option agreement, and totaling over $35 million in partner-funded, or just under $35 million in partner-funded exploration, as well as $15 million potentially coming in cash payments to Skyharbour, and over $20 million in share issuances. So we're actually generating a bit of cash flow, about $1.5 million to $2 million in the next 12 months in cash and stock coming in from these option partners, and so that's a big part of our story. So I don't want to get too off track from the deck here, but investment highlights, people, timing, and projects. We have a good mix of focused geological expertise in the Athabasca Basin, coupled with management and a board of directors that's built and sold mining companies. Timing with the uranium market. Again, as exciting as it is to be a shareholder, be involved with the company right now, given all the drilling that we have going on and that our partners have going on, it's just as exciting to be an investor in the uranium sector. We've heard lots of commentary today. I think this is going to be a major breakout year for the commodity. We've talked a lot about the tailwinds right now, the strong fundamentals, but I think now that we've seen this base built around $50 a pound, I think we're in for a very, very good year. And obviously companies that have uranium projects in safe jurisdictions will benefit the most, I think. And then the projects, as I pointed out, 18 properties, this dual-pronged strategy of focused exploration and discovery at our 2 core projects of Russell and Moore Lake. These are 2 advanced stage exploration assets that host either resources or high-grade multi-percent uranium mineralization in historical drill holes. And then we have well over a dozen other properties, secondary and tertiary projects that are part of our prospect generator business. So I won't spend a ton of time on the team here. I think most are probably familiar with me or have seen me present. I've been running the company now for almost 10 years. Again, we saw an opportunity a decade ago, start building up this project portfolio. Chairman Jim Pettit, him and I have worked together for many years. Jim built and sold a gold company called Bayfield Ventures. We sold that company, and that's when we started Skyharbour. Dave Cates is the president and CEO of Denison Mines. He's been an independent director of Skyharbour now since 2016. Denison's is our largest strategic corporate shareholder, and Dave personally is quite a large shareholder of the company as well. So we do have a strategic partnership with Denison Mines. Joe Gallucci joined us as a director about 3 years ago. Joe brings a wealth of capital markets experience. He's the head of investment banking at Laurentian now. A number of you here at the Red Cloud Group have worked with Joe in the past. So Joe, very, very happy to have him as an independent director. And then our geological team headed up by Dave Bayard in Saskatoon. So Dave's been looking for uranium in the Athabasca Basin now for almost 40 years. He's credited with multiple discoveries. He cut his teeth at Cameco, and then he built and sold a company called JNR, which they sold to Denison Mines. Christine McKechnie as well, he's worked with us now full-time for about 7 years, wrote an award-winning thesis on a deposit that we have called the Fraser Lakes Zone B deposit at our South Falcon East project. So really has very much an intimate knowledge of the specific assets that we have in the Athabasca Basin. And then just rounding out the team, Paul Matizik is an advisor, joined us back in 2016, large shareholder. He's built and sold half a dozen mining companies. That's what we're working towards at Skyharbour. And more recently, Andrew Remcharan, who joined us as our Senior VP of Corporate Development, brings over 20 years of experience in the mining industry and worked with a handful of uranium companies in the mid-2000s. Capital structure, 148 million shares issued and outstanding, trades between about a $60 to $65 million market cap. We just recently uplisted to the OTCQX as well, and you'll see some of our larger and notable strategic shareholders. We're now in pretty much all of the larger uranium mining ETFs, as you'll see there. As I mentioned, 2 larger corporate strategic shareholders in Denison Mines, and now more recently in Rio Tinto. We're acquiring the Russell Lake project from Rio. They've recently become a large strategic shareholder of the company. And just a quick note on the treasury, as I mentioned, we are getting some cash flow and cash in stock from these ongoing from these partner companies, well funded right now with over $6 million in the treasury, fully funded for this 10,000 meter drill program. I won't spend a ton of time. I know there's been lots of good commentary on the market. Needless to say, we're very bullish. As I said earlier, I think this is going to be a breakout year for uranium. I think there's one of 5 or 6 catalysts that could be that driver for a much higher price. We've seen this market now transform from an oversupplied market to an undersupplied market, 40 to 50 million pounds in a structural supply deficit. We don't have the inventories and the stockpiles that we once had to meet that. We've obviously seen new marginal buying coming in from the Sprots, the Yellow Cakes of the world, even some of the developers and the producers. And then when we look at the market bifurcating east versus west, that's going to obviously benefit Canadian, Aussie and U.S. companies that have projects that can provide that secure supply of uranium for Western utilities going forward. And Skyharbour is very, very well positioned to, one, make discoveries, delineate resources, and ultimately find that next generation of Western high-grade Athabasca Basin deposits that can be that supply for these Western utilities going forward. I'll jump ahead here to this slide. So this just shows our project portfolio in the Athabasca Basin. So again, 18 projects, about just over 1.1 million acres of ground. We've continued to stake properties and acquire new projects. Keep an eye out for that. We're going to have probably some more news flow over the coming months on additional project acquisitions. But we've done a great job building this project portfolio up. Again, like I said, we've been acquiring these properties over the last decade at very attractive valuations, which has now allowed us to capitalize on this, and in particular with our prospect generator business, bring in new partner companies and really monetize at least parts of these various properties. So you'll see the 2 main projects, as I mentioned here, Russell and Moore Lake. Russell Lake, as I mentioned earlier, just commenced the 10,000 meter program. This is a big block of ground in between the McArthur River Mine and the Key Lake Mill. In fact, the road that services McArthur River runs up through the western part of our property. You'll see there with that black line. We've also inherited a 40-person exploration camp that Rio built about 10 years ago there. So this is really going to help battle some of those that cost inflation that's rampant in the industry. We're able to stage out of that camp. We can drive from our office in Saskatoon up to that camp in less than 8 hours, and it makes a big difference when you're bringing in fuel fuel and supplies and drill rigs. So we as I said, 10,000 meters. We're just wrapping up the first phase of drilling. And what's interesting about the history at this project is you've a big block of ground, over 73,000 hectares. It's been explored over several decades, but a lot of the drilling was exploratory in nature. There really hadn't been any systematic drill programs that went in with tighter spaced drill fences. And so what you have here is you have these fertile corridors. In some cases, there's multi-percent U3O8 in over skinny widths in historical drill holes, but previous operators, including Hathor and Rio, really didn't tighten up that spacing. And so Skyharbour, this is an opportunity for us to go in and do that. And you can miss a lot of uranium in just a few hundred meters. And what you have here are drill fences that are 300, 400, 500 meters apart. In some cases, both fences have uranium mineralization, but no drilling in between. So the first few holes in the first part of this drill program was going in to tighten up some of those drill fences. We're very, very pleased with what we're seeing. This project, we feel has very, very strong discovery and upside potential, and not just at the main target area, which is called the Grayling Zone, but at a half a dozen other target areas as well. So the news flow from this project is going to be quite consistent over the next 3 to 4 months. Again, that'll be the 10,000 meters, and that'll get us near the 51% ownership in the project. There's a staged earn-in. We can acquire up to 100%, but this initial 51% will pretty much be at almost after this 10,000 meters. Now, adjacent to Russell, you'll see Moore Lake, and this has been the flagship for the company since 2016. We've done a lot of drilling there over the various years. We are planning a summer drill program as well of a few thousand meters. This project is host to several high-grade pods or lenses of uranium mineralization. We've had drill results as high as 21% U3O8 over 1.5 meters, 6% over 6 meters. But more recently, we've had a lot of success drilling into the underlying basement rocks, because not a lot of the historical drilling was focused on basement-hosted targets or deposits. So we're going to continue drilling there. We just announced last year our best basement-hosted uranium mineralization that have been discovered at the project, 6.8% U3O8 over 2 meters. So we'll be drilling in conjunction with the drilling at Russell Lake, staging out of the camp at Russell Lake. So those are the two main projects, and I'll just skip ahead here and finish off with this slide, and then we can move on to some questions. So here's the prospect generator in a snapshot. You'll see here the 7 partner companies across 8 of our other projects. 2 of them now are joint venture partners, one in Orano and one in Azincourt. Azincourt's just started a 3,000 meter drill program. They're working their way through that. They're having some early on success. We just had some news out on that the other day. So excited to see what they can pull from the ground there. Relatively shallow drilling on the western side of the Athabasca Basin. And then you'll see the 5 companies that are still in their earn-in, actively earning into these projects: Valor, Basin, Madero, Yellow Rocks, and Tisdale. I'll just draw your attention. You'll see most of them are structured in a similar manner. It's an earn-in option over 3 to 5 years. There's a cash component, there's a share component, and then there's exploration expenditures that they have to fund. I'll draw your attention to the most recent one that we announced late last year, and this is Tisdale Clean Energy. It's the largest option agreement we've signed to date, $10.5 million in exploration expenditures, $4.6 million in cash, and $7 million in share issuances. And they're planning a program. We'll have some news out on this over the coming months, but they're planning a fairly extensive initial exploration and drill program at that project. So collectively here, we're expecting drill programs. Azincourt's underway, expecting drill programs from Basin, potentially from Madero, and from Tisdale. So you're going to have multiple drill programs across several projects, including the large drill program that we're carrying out at Russell Lake. So multiple shots on goal. That's really the main thing here, is to provide investors with a one-stop shop at exploration and high-grade discovery potential across a diversified asset base in the Athabasca Basin, and have partner companies fund a good chunk of that exploration.